Welcome to episode 24 of the Non-Fun Gerbils podcast. I'm Luke.
And I am George.
And today we are joined for a second time by Zach Burks, founder of Mintable, the token minting platform that we use. Zach is here to tell us about the long-awaited Mintable 2.0, which brings a whole new kind of platform and marketplace to the NFT world, along with some new features and approaches to things such as their DAO, whose governance tokens are NFTs. Super interesting, and we hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to the Non-Fun Gerbils podcast, the show about digitally scarce gerbils, non-fungible assets, and the growing decentralized economy.
So Zach, welcome back to the podcast. We are 2 weeks and 2 days off it being a year since we last sat down to record episode 6. So yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year. Time kind of flies in crypto. It's a lot's happened. It feels like it's been 2 or 3 years, to be honest.
Yeah, well, crypto years do run in a different dimension to normal Earth years, don't they? So yeah, what have you been up to?
We started Mintable back, I think when you interviewed us, it was a little bit over maybe 6 months to a year of running it. And then since then, we've been working on our 2.0 version, which has a lot of features that I feel like we've learned from being in the space that marketplaces need, a lot of features that like NFTs need. So we've been working on that. It's taken us a lot longer, to be honest, than we expected. We were trying to have this out last December was when we were trying to launch this, and here it is. It's been almost a year, and we're just about ready to launch. We'll be launching here at the end of the month, so it's super exciting.
Give us an idea of what some of those new features are that you've been working on.
Well, there's quite a bit, actually. I mean, we could talk about it for hours. Some of the things I think that most people are going to see a lot of value in, especially if you're in the NFT space, is I guess the most important one is going to be batch minting. So we created batch minting when we launched originally, and it was 40 NFTs in one transaction. And this was a lot at the time. We were the only place that allowed for batch minting, and it was exciting. But ultimately, it cost about 7 million gas, which at the time was almost a full block. And so at current prices, that's like about $150. So now we have redone the entire smart contract for 721s, and this was the challenge. It took us months to do this. We redesigned the entire smart contract structure, and we can get 2,000 NFTs in a single transaction. So the comparison now in price is a huge difference. To make 40 NFTs, it's about 150 USD to do that right now, and to make 50 on our new version, it's $8. So that's huge. That's a big difference. And then you can make up to 2,000. At 2,000, it's about $150. But that's a pretty fair trade, because if you're going to sell 2,000 NFTs, you're probably going to make more than $150. From those 2,000, you might sell one for more than the 150. So that's one of the big ones. The other one is, of course, we're a marketplace now. So we've designed a marketplace for NFTs that is very similar to what you're used to seeing on Amazon or on Etsy or on eBay, which is kind of important, because when a normal person, I say normal person, someone who's not into crypto, right? Not the nerds like us. When a normal person goes and looks at like these digital items, and they're like, oh, what is this? And they go to OpenSea or they go to Rarible, and there's just it's kind of like they get hit in the face with like confusion. They see 1,000 different cats that are all slightly different, and they don't know what they're looking at, right? They're like, why is this going for 10 ether? What is this cat? And they the only information they have is the name of the cat, which is like CryptoKitty 54,721, and that doesn't tell them anything. So there's a confusion level of a normal person when they look at NFTs, and our marketplace really kind of solves that. with being something that you're very much used to. You go look at Amazon and Etsy and eBay, Lazada if you're in Asia, and then you look at Mintable and it looks very similar. In fact, our designer, we told him like, hey, when we're designing it, we're like, okay, here's eBay, here's Etsy, here's Amazon. Let's take and pick from each one of these. So we've designed the UI very similar to that. And then we build a lot of features that are features that you would see on those platforms, not features that you see on OpenSea or on Rarible. And I think this is really an important aspect because when you go on Rarible, man, try to find something that you're looking for on Rarible if it's not newly minted. Like that's a very hard challenge. And I'm sure anyone who's used Rarible, they know that like when you make an NFT, it just gets lost. It gets lost in the sauce of the millions of other NFTs out there. And there's really no way to kind of browse. There's no way to kind of promote yourself. There's no way for you to build a brand. So what people do is they go to Twitter, right? And that's kind of the NFT space is Twitter right now. You go there, and that's where you sell your NFTs at. You mint them, and then you promote it on Twitter. You share a direct link to your listing, and that's how almost all NFTs are sold in terms of volume. So we've fixed that. And then we have a ton of other features. Like, I mean, I can literally just go down a list and talk about them, but that would be a little boring. I think a lot of people are going to be excited when we launch and they see these features. They're going to be like, oh, wow, oh my God, like I can do this now, I can do this. And yeah, I think the second biggest one though, besides batch minting for everyday users of NFTs, is private files. We have private files now, which means that everyone in NFTs, they always say like the new people, they're like, why would I buy this picture for $50,000 when I can right click it and save it, right? And I think if we've been in the space, we all know the answer to this is like, well, because you don't own it. But there's still a disconnect between the normal person and the person who's been in the NFT space for a while, who realizes the difference. So that normal person, they don't recognize why this is valuable. But when you have private files, it gives them an instant understanding like, okay, well, the reason I'm going to pay this money is because I can access whatever is on that NFT and download that. So a really easy example is music, right? You can upload your album as the private file with all 10, 13 MP3s in a zip file. And then the NFT itself is the artwork of your album cover, but only the person who buys that NFT can download those songs and access those songs, right? And so there's like a utility, an actual purpose behind buying the NFT because you want to get something from it immediately, right? And so we've done that, and that's we've really spent a lot of time working on that because a lot of concerns about that, and so we had to fix a few things to get it going right.
And just to be clear, you can create those private files sort of fully decentralized. Like are they hosted somewhere? Can you put something like that in IPFS? Like how does that look?
So no, unfortunately, you can't do private files decentralized, and here's why. Like I said, we've been trying to work on this for months, and private files was one of the first things that we were addressing. And the problem is with IPFS or any decentralized file storage, whether it's Filecoin, IPFS, Arweave, even Siacoin, all of these file storages are public, which means that you can't have anything private on there. Anything that's on Arweave or IPFS or any other decentralized file storage, I can access just directly with the link. So there's no way to do verification. The only way to have a private file is to encrypt that file and then store it on like IPFS. But then you run into a problem of presenting the key for decryption. And if you want to decrypt that file, that decryption key has to be either stored on a centralized server where it's not public, or it has to be a peer-to-peer transfer of you buy the NFT, now the seller emails you the decryption key, which obviously that doesn't work either. So if we wanted to do it with the encryption route and store everything on IPFS or whatnot, we did think about doing this. The problem is like we still have to store the decryption keys on our server, and if you rely on our server to get that decryption key, then why don't we just store the whole thing on our server anyways, right? So what we've done is it's actually double encrypted. So we use military grade AES 256 encryption. So when a private file is uploaded, we cannot access it, even if I wanted to, right? Like as the main developer, I can't access the files because they're encrypted client-side keys, right? And then these keys are basically changed on the server based off of when the transfer of ownership happens. So there's no way I can actually access any of these files. And then one of the big concerns is viruses. So there's Mintbase, and Mintbase did private files a few months back, right? The thing with Mintbase is that there is no virus scanning on your files. And so if I go to Mintbase and I'm malicious and I upload a virus as my private file and I sell this NFT for a really, really good deal, and you're going to download like something that's super valuable, but it's only $10. So a lot of people are like, oh, I really want to buy this NFT. They buy it, and then when they download that file, it's actually a virus that steals their crypto. That's guaranteed to happen 100%. And it's probably already happening on Mintbase because the fact that they know that every single user on an NFT platform has crypto. And since they have crypto, they're a target, right? So as soon as we decided to do private files last year, we were like, okay, that's the first thing that I thought of. It's like, okay, well, if I'm malicious, I'm going to upload viruses and steal crypto from people. And so we're like, okay, well, how can we address this? So it took us 4 months, and we went through pretty much every major software solution for scanning viruses, and they all have issues. But the one that we settled on is used by governments because I was in the military, and I had a top secret clearance, and so I was familiar with this kind of software where essentially it's used for classified material, so they don't access any of your files, but they still scan the file for viruses, and they use the hash of the file to scan it, and then they do a lookup of that, and that provides a flexibility of being able to say, hey, this file is secure and safe, but I don't know what the content is. And we wanted to do something like this because if you upload a private file, we care about the privacy, and we don't want to know what that file is. We don't want to use a service that says, oh, there's nudity or there's profanity in here, so let's delete it. Because there's some virus scanning software that does that as well. So it took us forever to find it. We found this solution. It's the most expensive business cost that we have, which is kind of insane. It costs us thousands of dollars a year to run this. And every time someone makes a private file, first it gets scanned, then it's encrypted. And if there's a virus, of course, it gets deleted, and you can't upload it. So no one's at risk if they ever download a file from Mintable because it's been scanned and safe. It uses 15 different virus scanning software solutions. So the top 15, it uses them. So it's got a very high detection rate, and it's mainly used by businesses that deal with classified information or government entities. So it's an American kind of corporation that deals with the government. So that was one of the big things that we wanted to address right away, was to make sure that every file is safe and secure to allow for these private files. The second thing is, on Mintbase, there's like a 20 megabyte limit, I think. So if you're an artist and you want to upload a high resolution GIF, you're kind of screwed. Our limit, we decided, was going to be 3 gigabytes, which I think is pretty sufficient. Like you can't really get a piece of artwork that's over 3 gigs. And so, yeah, that's just one of them. And that took us a long time to build out, develop, make sure everything was safe, secure, encrypted, and non-accessible.
Interesting. How do you? Because I hadn't really thought about, or hadn't really given thought to the fact that actually the storage of files might cause an issue, in that you've got your targeted user base of crypto users who have crypto downloading random files. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's the same actually for all decentralized file storage as well. So it doesn't matter if it's storage centralized or decentralized. Whenever you download anything, you're putting yourself at risk. And if you're downloading it from a crypto website, you're putting yourself at even more risk, right? Because if it's user generated content, which is what NFT content is, then you're taking a very high risk. And I don't think a lot of people actually even recognize this. Like you just said, you didn't think about it, but it's a very important aspect that security-wise, every crypto user needs to pay attention to, because once your private key is stolen, you're screwed, right? So hopefully people are using like a hardware wallet and they don't have a private key file on their computer that can be stolen. But even even without that, we use MetaMask, and there's malware that can change the address of your transaction that you're sending it to, right? So I can try to send you some Ether. The malware will send it to the attacker's address, and then you just stole my Ether. So it is a very important thing that people need to kind of pay attention to, and that's why I've been in crypto for a very long time, and I'm very security conscious. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that whatever solution we provide, it allows our users to maintain a level of security that I myself would want to, partake in.
In terms of private files and the potential use cases that you're hoping the market will use, something just sprung to mind now for me. Like, so music's probably one of the main applications for it. If I was to buy an album, and in theory I'm the first buyer of this album, let's say, I mean, because someone could upload an album and no one's like provably ever owned it before, like, because it's on the chain, it's never you could in theory pass along IP to that album to the buyer, and then the buyer, like a publisher, I could buy it as a publisher. Is that a potential use case as well in the future?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of use cases. When we were raising money earlier this year, our main selling point was the fact that we are kind of redesigning a way for you to use a file, because as you touched on, you can do IP transfer of ownership. You can also do things like have utility where if you ever made a website, you probably have downloaded a template for your website or a theme for your website, right? You can sell that as an NFT. You can sell actual data as an NFT, so you can compile data from studies or collected websites that are for like resources and stuff. There's literally a range of utilities that gets unlocked by having a private file that we don't have right now in current NFTs, and this opens up our ecosystem and it opens up the asset class of what an NFT is. Right now, we only have two asset class of NFTs, which is collectible items and game items, right? And game items somewhat fall into collectible items. You can argue that there's other asset classes like domains, which it's quite specific, although I don't know if I would consider a domain an asset class itself. It could be, but regardless, the point is there's only these two or three asset classes that we have for an NFT. But when you allow for a private file, you can have NFTs as a service. So buy my NFT, download something that you're paying for. You can have NFTs as a functionality. So you can download this and you're getting a zip file that has a template for a website, right? And that functionality is something that you can use somewhere else. Um, you can have asset classes for almost anything. You can do a lot more kind of. It's a little hard to do because you need a middleman for something like regulated, but you can do leases, you can do identity documents, you can do all sorts of different real world asset classes that there are regulated bodies for by having a private file attached to that NFT. If your government body that did birth certificates issued NFTs, and then the actual birth certificate itself was stored on the government servers as the private file for the NFT, then that's something that you can do. And so it does provide this. And you touched on the ability to transfer IP. We actually provide copyright transfer directly in the metadata. So that's one of the options is when you go to list an item for sale, you're going to select, do I want to give commercial copyright ownership to whoever buys this? And then that's stored in the metadata as a on-chain reference to be able to say, like, this person bought this NFT, on this date, the copyright was transferred on that transfer of the NFT. And if for any reason it's challenged in court or whatever, you have that verifiable record that you can, go on and look at. And so we do offer that. One of the things we're going to be adding is an actual range to select what kind of copyright you want to do, taking, like maybe the top 10 most common kind of commercial copyright uses, and then allow you to select that from the list. Currently, it's just do you want to transfer copyright or not? But we will be adding that later. So there's a lot of use cases that come out of this, and it kind of it kind of opens up the door. One of the ones I really like is, and in terms of music, is if you're an artist that goes and has concerts, you can say, here's a single, here's here's a track, it's a single track. I'm going to sell it for $100, which is really expensive for an MP3, right? No one's going to buy a single song for $100, but it's collectible. The album cover has like rare collectible artwork, and then not only do you get to download the MP3, but the NFT itself could be used for different things. It could be used as a ticket to the concert. So the artist can say, hey, anytime in the next 1 year after purchase, you can use that NFT as a ticket to get access to my concert. VIP access, right? Backstage access. Or you can say, hey, you can redeem that NFT on my website and get a free shirt. Or you can get a signed copy of my physical CD or whatever, right? And this gives this kind of multi-purpose to a file, where right now we have a file that is singular. I download an MP3. I never go back to the website. I never interact with the seller again. I have my song. I play it over and over, and that's it. There's no engagement from the creator side of view. They lose the ability to have repeat sales. They lose the ability to pull them back and create continuous engagement. And so by allowing your NFT to represent this file, your content, it allows for continuous engagement so that you can have airdrops, you can have giveaways, you can have redeemable rewards, you can have attached benefits where if you have this, then you get that, right? And these are all huge things for content creators and digital economies that we don't have with NFTs right now, but something that we will have really soon, right? As soon as we launch, it'll be out there and people will be able to use it. So I think it's going to be exciting because we're going to have a new type of asset for NFTs. When you're on OpenSea or on Mintable, you're going to see, oh, is this a PDF? Oh, okay. Is this a zip file? Oh, okay. Is this an MP3? Right? And that's going to be big. It's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, that's interesting because that opens a whole new tool set to creators. Like whereas tickets were being done as NFTs individually, as were songs and artwork. When you can have the first 100 album sales released early with an NFT, and actually that NFT then give you access to other things afterwards, then there's a whole new incentive layer, isn't there, that actually brings all of these things together. Do you see that being sort of the main use case of having the files?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I think one of the most common use case as soon as we launch is going to be artists. And what they're going to do is they're going to upload a low resolution watermark image for the actual NFT image that you see in your wallet that everyone can copy and paste. And then the private file is going to be the high resolution 4K image, or maybe it's going to be a zip file with all the assets that are included in that image, right? And so I think that's going to be the big use case for, right off the bat. We're going to have artists that are going to be using it, and they're going to say, okay, this is really helpful because now I have kind of a ability to give utility for my artwork and say, hey, this is why you should buy my NFT. It's not because there's a 4K image that you can look at in your wallet, but because you get access to the 4K image, you can download it. You're the only one that can download it, and you have all the other assets that go along with this artwork, right? And so that's going to be huge. And the ability to kind of, it's not copyright protection, but it kind of is in the sense that, like by the legal definition, it's not at all. But it is in the sense that you're protecting your artwork from just being screen grabbed. You're protecting your artwork from being kind of just appreciated without people paying for it, right? Which some people may not care about. And to be honest, it's up to each person has their own opinions of how they should go about doing that. Each artist, some want their artwork all over the world for free. Some people only want people to appreciate it if they paid for it, right? And so this offers that flexibility. You don't have to do a low resolution image for the public image. You could do the 4K image, and then you don't even have to do a private file, right? It's an option that you can choose. So that's one of the things that we've tried to build is the most flexible minting platform and marketplace. And I think we've definitely done that because from being able to say transfer the copyright, being able to say I want to batch mint 2,000 tokens or I want to make a single token, being able to say I want to have a private file or I don't want to have a private file, being able to say I want to host this on IPFS or Arweave or on my own server, you can do all that. So one of the things is we understand that people really care about decentralization, and so do we. So you just press a button that says IPFS, and it hosts everything on IPFS for you directly. And the same user interface as if it's on our server. You just upload it, it goes directly to IPFS. All the metadata is stored decentralized. All the images are stored decentralized. If you want to do it on Arweave, you can do that as well. And if you want to do it on your own servers, because maybe you don't care about decentralization, but you want complete control for your project, you can also do that. And so we built as many flexible routes for you to take for your NFT so that whatever creative content you want to put up as an NFT, you can. And I think that's going to be a really important aspect to why Mintable is used or helpful. I think a lot of people, maybe they don't like the marketplace. That's fine. They'll mint their NFTs there, and then they'll sell them on OpenSea or they'll sell them on Rarible. That's the beauty of blockchain, right? Is that they can sell them wherever they want.
One of the other beauties of blockchain, and I think part of what when you're interacting with the crypto community, you're gonna get a couple of skeptic questions about, okay, how do I know that the file is private? There has to be a certain kind of communication and trust that you'll have to build up over time, I guess, to allow people to feel comfortable with that. Is that part of the communication strategy that you're going to work on, or how do you see those kind of more skeptical sides of the crypto community coming in and looking at these new types of files?
Well, I think we have a really good kind of reputation within the community. A lot of people, when they've reached out for help or they have any questions, we're very responsive, and so we have a really good reputation within the NFT space. We've been around since the beginning. So I don't think many people are too concerned in terms of like, are we going to exit scam or something? Which we can't anyways if we wanted to. Like you can't. There's nothing for us to exit scam. But so I think our reputation is pretty sound, and we will communicate, with everyone about everything that I'm talking about here. Which is, this is part of kind of that strategy, is going on and talking about what we've been building and how it's built. But we also have, a lot of people since we've launched have asked us about like our metadata, and they said, what happens if Mintable goes away tomorrow, right? If the business shuts down, and we've had since we started a 10-year guarantee, where we guarantee you for 10 years our metadata, our data, your data for your NFTs will be online, will be hosted, and we can guarantee that because it's actually really affordable to just host some text data for every NFT's metadata. It's only like $2 or $3 a month, so it's really affordable. And even if our business shuts down, all this data is still there. In terms of like private files showing that they're private, that's kind of like a paradox, right? You can't.
Exactly.
I can't show you something that's private and then be like, look, it's private. You just saw it, right?
Yeah.
So, but we can say that it is private. If you can try to access it. If there's some like elite hacker out there, they can try to access it, and I think that they'll find that they cannot. It's completely private. We can't even access it. So the only thing that can happen is our server will verify you via the blockchain, and then it presents it for you to download to that specific person for a very limited number of seconds. So you get a few seconds to download it, to initiate the download, and then you have to re-authenticate yourself via the blockchain, right? So everything is using the blockchain, and there's really I don't think many people will question it once they go through the flow and they realize like, okay, I'm verifying myself using the blockchain. I'm interacting with my wallet. I'm trying to download it. And then if they try to go back to download it 5 seconds, well, it's more than 5 seconds. But if they try to download it, like an hour later, they're not going to be able to. They're going to have to re-authenticate themselves. And if they use a different wallet or if they transfer the NFT, they're no longer able to access that file. So unless we own the NFT, we can't access the file either.
And I suppose over time, the longer the system is used, the more people will come to understand that what's been in these files has not leaked anywhere. Like, and so that will help to reinforce the knowledge that yes, these are indeed private. It's a kind of thing. It's like an emergent property of the system that will appear over time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that over time, obviously, as more people use our platform, the trust will build, right? That's just kind of natural for, most platforms. And I think another aspect is, of course, like our DAO. So we've released kind of news in the last few weeks that we're doing a DAO, and this DAO is going to allow for the governance of our platform via the community. And I think that's also another important aspect to building the trust within the people using our platform, because they are also the ones that get to dictate the future of our platform, right? They can choose the features that we add. They can choose if they want to do a rebranding, or if they want to add something that we don't have currently, or change our smart contracts, or implement some kind of categories of like banning or approving people, or really anything, right? So you can do anything as a proposal that's related to Mintable, and the only people that can do that are the people that are involved into our platform. So it's kind of governed completely by the community. And so I think when you mix those two, of over time the reputation will build, as well as the people that are using it are also the ones kind of dictating its path and its governance. I think there'll be a lot of trust overall in what we're building, and I think I think that a lot of people are going to find it very useful. At least that's that's what I've tried to build, and I've been in the NFT space for a very long time, and so I've seen, well, very long time in crypto years, a very long time, right? Total like 3 or 4 years, so not very long in the real world, but in crypto, that's I'm an old man. But I think people are going to see that like this solves a lot of the problems that we have, and it's not just because we have private files, and it's not just because we have batch minting, but it's because the whole way that the system is built. One of the big things I think that we haven't touched on is complete customization of your listing. When I sell a CryptoKitty on OpenSea, I don't put any information in. When I just click sell, I put in a price, and that's it, right? And I guess it's easy, but you don't have the ability to be a salesman, right? I can't say this is the best CryptoKitty, this is the most valuable CryptoKitty, you need to buy this CryptoKitty because X, Y, and Z. I don't get to say any of that, and so because of that, you get less conversions, right? You don't sell as many NFTs. The only thing that the buyer is going to see is CryptoKitty 5,432 and its attributes in the image, right? And they have to make a decision: do I want this one, or do I want the 1,000 others? And it's the same for Rarible. You also, if you mint it on Rarible, you of course get to put in the title and stuff, but you don't get to resell an item and put in your commentary of why you should buy this. But we've taken the approach of a normal marketplace. So when you go on eBay or Etsy, you fill out for every item the title, the subtitle, the description. You upload all your images, right? And it's exactly the same on our platform. And so this means like if I want to sell my CryptoKitty, I can put whatever I want. I can say this CryptoKitty was owned by Vitalik himself. It was the first CryptoKitty born of this mother cat, right? I can play games with it and joke around, or I can be really serious about it and put like a whole 2 pages of history behind this CryptoKitty, and history behind why it's valuable, and why you should buy this. And I think that that's going to be a big impact on getting conversions. For anyone who sells NFTs right now, they know that the conversion rate is very low. They'll make 100 NFTs and they'll maybe sell 1 or 2 or 3. So this is also something we addressed.
That's interesting, because that's all the information that's missing, isn't it? You get to when you repost something, there's the history of where it's been, what it's been doing, who's owned it. Well, who's owned it other than potentially a pseudonymous address. You get to add to that as it goes, and keep telling the story, and it's almost like adding metadata to it.
Right, it is. It is kind of adding metadata in the sense of you're providing a description, and you're providing you're being a salesman for your item, because it's an e-commerce transaction. This is something that's very important that people in NFTs, the NFT ecosystem, they don't really realize, is that every time someone buys an NFT, it's essentially providing, the same mechanisms that an e-commerce transaction would provide to the buyer. They look at it, they say, I want this. It's an impulse buy, and they put it into their cart and they check out, right? But when you look at it that way, you realize that the tools that were provided on other marketplaces are just not sufficient for getting these high level of conversions of impulse buys, right? You're not able to really draw at the heartstrings or to convert the potential of what the NFT, the item itself is, into the buyer's mind to make them realize I need to buy this now, right? And so that's what we've tried to build a system, which, I mean, it was already built, right? It's Amazon, it's eBay, it's Etsy. These places were already built this way. And we just looked at it and said, hey, why is our Web3 e-commerce not doing what Web2 e-commerce does? And so that's what we built. And I think it's something that everyone is going to be using in terms of NFT content creators.
I mean, I'm trying to build a picture of how this is going to get used by artists, for example. I mean, there will be a big number of artists and collectors who will not want private files because they'll want the storage of the image to be decentralized, so that it's got that robustness, long-term sustainability. You know, it will be online in 20 years type thing, as best as we can approximate at the moment. But then if you've got private files, there might be other use cases that you can use it for your art, such as having, you know, a surprise art piece that's owned by, you know, there's 10 of them and only the owners get to see it.
Or the behind the scenes making of.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So yeah, you get the special making of, you know, you get additional things that can be thrown in that are completely secret rather than like just the high, and that maybe that's the art itself. So with the files themselves, is that changeable? So when you mint the token for the first time, you open a file with it, or you upload a file with it, and that's set, is it? It's not, you can't change it.
Right, you cannot change it. So once you mint your NFT, the private file is attached to it, and you cannot edit that. You also cannot edit the metadata because the metadata is the NFT. So in the metadata, you have your image of, you know, your artwork. If you were able to edit that at a later date, you can potentially scam someone, right? And so we don't allow you to edit your metadata. Now, of course, because we offer the flexibility, you can host your metadata yourself on your own server, where maybe for your project you need to update the metadata, right? Maybe you need to add the discount code or add information to the metadata as time goes on, which you could. But if you host the metadata with us, you won't be able to edit it. If you host the metadata on IPFS or Arweave, you won't be able to update it. So the same goes for the private file. Once you upload that, you can't change it. What that means, though, is that you can now trade files like you trade NFTs. So I can upload my song. Someone might be a really big fan, and they say, "Oh my God, this is huge. I really like this artist, and he's got a limited edition song. I'm going to buy all of them, and I'm going to resell them for double the price." Right? And now you have this ability to buy and sell files for a profit, right? Which you can't do anywhere because the file won't change. So the NFT itself maintains that file. So if I sell it 5 different times to 5 different people, they're all going to have the same file, which then they can go resell and resell and resell down the chain, right?
I suppose you can add things like if you own a file and you say, okay, well, this NFT, I want to give this a boost, and I want to allow only the people with this NFT, even if it's not your NFT, to get into, you know, X conference. And then you can add that to the description, for example, and have that as a sort of temporary, you know, selling point which changes, that won't exist after it's gone on from that point.
You could. It just provides a much greater flexibility for what you can do with your NFTs than what we have right now. You could do it where the first 100 NFTs give you access to this concert. You can do it where we have the option to say that you don't want it to be resold. So you could also say that once you buy this, it can't be resold. And so you can say the first people to buy this can use it at access to my conference. You can say that if you buy it within the auction time frame, I'm only going to list it once. Right? Say I list it for 3 days on an auction, and if you get it within that 3 days, you can use it for X, Y, and Z. We're going to be building a feature to allow you to redeem NFTs. which is going to be really big too. So you can redeem these NFTs completely within the user interface. The buyer and the seller, the person who made the NFT is going to set up what they want the redeeming to do. So maybe you redeem it, they mail you a T-shirt. You redeem it, they send you, some link or whatever they want. We're building a system for that as well, and that's going to be big. One of the things that we haven't touched on though was kind of the way that, if we look at the past 2 months, Rarible kind of blew up, and the reason they blew up was because they had their Rari token, right? And they have this token that encouraged wash trading. And so people were buying and selling back and forth, and their volume just exploded because they were getting rewarded with this governance token, and that kind of exploded their marketplace into what it is now. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be very good for what they've got, because the issue of wash trading is just too hard to deal with that system with the ERC20. We were looking at how to do a DAO, but Mintable really doesn't like ERC20 tokens. Myself, I just don't like having an ICO or requiring a token, or even having a token that someone might buy and then lose money on. So we decided, how can we create a DAO so that our project can be governed by the users that are using our project, but not have a token, because every DAO has a token for voting, or they use Ether if they're like an investment DAO. And we realized, we're an NFT platform. Let us make a DAO using only NFTs. And when we do this, it allows for a creator to kind of, obviously they get rewarded with this NFT every time their artwork is sold. But we built in a mechanism, and I'm talking about this because of what we were just talking about and how this relates, is we built in a mechanism where it allows for the community to approve special creators to give double the votes. And so if you're a creator and you're using your NFTs for a conference, or you're using your NFTs for your artwork and you're well known in the community, people can vote to approve you on a list of approved creators, and people will get rewarded with double the votes when they buy or sell your NFTs, which gives you more incentives, or it gives the people more incentives to buy your artwork or your NFTs. And I think this is really important, because when you do something like use an NFT for a conference, if that conference is really well known and they get approved on this list, you might see people buying NFTs that are tickets, not to go to the conference, but to trade it, because they're either getting votes, or they know that the other people are trading it to get votes, and so they're playing the market and doing it for profit, right? And this is kind of what NFTs are all about, is how can I trade this item and make profit, right? And so that's a kind of an important aspect of content creators need to see that marketing their item and their NFT is important. And when we look at blockchain, there's different ways that we can do this now, right? It's not just with a good copy or being a good salesman. It's like, hey, we can build in incentives in the blockchain layer of my artwork and my NFTs, whether it's redeemable NFTs, or it's private content, or it's extra votes in a DAO. You can do all these things with, just something that people look at and they think, oh, it's just CryptoKitties, right? But NFTs are actually really flexible.
Okay, so you're creating a DAO, but you're not using ERC20 tokens. Talk us through that. How does that work?
Well, essentially, we started looking at the DAO and the smart contracts for DAO, and realized that there's not a lot of flexibility to remove ERC20s, because they're used for the voting. You say I have 100 of these, tokens, and that's 100 votes. So when we looked at the most popular DAOs, Compound, Uniswap, Moloch, we were trying to look at how can we build NFTs into this. We couldn't really figure it out, so we started from scratch, and we took and picked from each of the different DAOs, and we use an NFT that each person gets. So they each get their unique NFT that holds their votes. Very similar to other NFTs for games, where your CryptoKitty may have attributes, or your other game item has a strength level or a HP level. It's the same for your votes. So your NFT is going to have a vote level, which is how many votes it holds. And every time you interact with the platform, whether it's buying an NFT or selling an NFT, the smart contract will check and say, hey, do you already have a voting NFT? If you don't, we're going to give you an NFT. We're going to mint a new one. So you'll actually get 2 NFTs in your transaction. Or we're going to increase the votes on the one that you already have. And so for a normal person, if they buy a CryptoKitty for their first time, what's going to happen is they're going to get the CryptoKitty that they purchased, and they're going to get the voting NFT. And it's going to have X number of votes based off of the amount of money that they spent, right? So if they spend $100, let's just say they get 100 votes, right? And then the buyer and the seller split that 50-50. This means that every time you interact with the platform, you get votes that you could then use to dictate the future path of the platform and govern the platform itself. So the people that are using the platform the most are going to be the ones that can interact and choose the direction that we take as a marketplace or a platform. And they can propose anything they want. So it's just like any other DAO. They can make a proposal, and then other people will vote on that proposal. And once it reaches quorum and there's enough yes votes or no votes, will dictate whether or not the proposal passes. And then finally, since there's it's yield farming in the sense of buying and selling NFTs, and that's kind of slow, we have a bonding curve mechanism for you to buy votes directly. So if you choose to, you can buy votes directly on the bonding curve. So obviously, using a bonding curve, the first person to buy gets the cheapest votes, and the last person to buy gets the most expensive votes. And they can use that if they want to make a proposal, the day we launch, opposed to building up from selling NFTs and buying NFTs. And so that NFT is going to be your vote. But the thing is, the reason we chose to use an NFT and not an ERC20 is that you cannot pump and dump a NFT. No person that owns a voting NFT is ever going to have to worry about being dumped on, right? Of the price just collapsing underneath them from some large well. And this is really important to us. We were really worried when we came out with the DAO that people would lose money or be financially hurt from something that was just supposed to be a community project. But that's the beauty of NFTs, is we don't have to worry about that. It takes the speculator out of the governance, which is kind of the problem with the DAOs right now. And so I think that's kind of the DAO in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more. We released an article about this to kind of explain everything.
Okay, so you can only get these tokens by using the platform. And I'm gonna think about this in terms of Rarible. So you get a split on the governance tokens that are distributed for using the platform, so the buyer and the seller, such as on Rarible. But instead of receiving an ERC20 token, you have your NFT topped up by X amount. And the only way you can sell those is by selling it into the bonding curve. Is that right? Or you can sell the NFTs directly. You can sell your NFT as a whole and say this has 360 votes and sell it on OpenSea, for example.
Exactly.
Or on your platform.
Yeah, you'll be able to do that. You won't be able to sell it to the bonding curve. You won't. The bonding curve doesn't accept your votes. So if you wanted to, say you've been on Mintable and you've been buying and selling NFTs for a long time, and you have thousands of votes, you can either sell your single NFT for all the votes and list it for sale like any other NFT, or you can split it and you'll split into different NFTs. So you can say, I want 500 votes on this NFT, and I want 500 votes on that NFT, and then I'm going to sell each one of those, right? Because maybe I don't want to sell all my votes. I just want to sell a little bit.
So you can split them. You can split them. That's interesting.
Correct. Yeah, you can. And you'll be minting a new NFT. And someone asked when we released the article, is they were talking about the total supply. And one of the things is that we mentioned was there's no total supply for the NFTs. So the NFT itself is an unlimited supply, where every time someone wants to split an NFT, they make a new one, or every time a new person interacts with the platform, they get a new NFT. But there's only 10 million votes. And since there's only 10 million votes, eventually no new NFTs will be made because we'll be out of votes. They will all already be in circulation.
Okay. So how long do you think it will be before someone creates a wrapper for these and wraps the ERC 721s as ERC20s and then creates a Uniswap pool and completely goes back the other way and creates the liquidity
Well, I don't know the time frame on how long that would take. It's definitely possible. It could be done. They could create a pool for it, but it's the same way as I could also create a wrap ERC20 for an ERC20, and maybe I take USDT or DAI and I wrap it in my own ERC20. Why would anyone want to put liquidity into that? Why would anyone want to buy that in my pool, right? It's not backed by DAI. It's not backed by USDT. It's just some random other token. And so I don't know if there's going to be any actual reason that someone would want to buy a ERC20 that is a wrapped version of these votes, because you also won't be able to use those to vote in the DAO either.
Okay.
So maybe they can use some sort of, I don't want to I don't want to give any ideas away, but maybe they can use some sort of ownership method where you can basically fractionalize the ownership of the NFT itself. But other than having a fractionalized ownership of the NFT, there's really no purpose, because even if I say, oh, I own half of an NFT that has 100 votes, what good does that do me? Why wouldn't I just want that one NFT itself, right? So I don't think there's much purpose to actually doing that, but it definitely could happen. It probably will happen, but of course we won't encourage anyone to ever buy any ERC20 that is a wrapped version of these votes. The whole point of using NFTs is to remove the speculation aspect of people in governance, because right now governance is hurt when there's speculators involved. You have people that get in quickly. You have flash loans that can be used in a manner to sway a vote, and none of these things are lucrative to having a decentralized governance running any kind of platform.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how it ends up working, because I find it quite difficult to sort of visualize how it'll work, basically.
How long will we have to wait to find out, I guess?
Well, I mean, we're going to be live at the end of November, so
Okay.
here in
Not long then.
20 days from now. And I've been coding all day today for like 12 hours. Every day, basically, I'm doing 12-hour days to try to get this done in time and make sure everything's perfect. We have our whole team is working pretty much around the clock. And I think, Luke, you mentioned that it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. I get it. It's, when I wrote the contract, a lot of it was I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I don't, what is this interaction? What is that interaction? Because no one's done this before, right? No one's made a DAO using NFTs. But if you've used any NFT before, it's actually going to be really similar. You're going to have an NFT with a really cool image in your wallet. And then on our website, there's going to be a really nice interface that basically shows how many votes you have, lets you make proposals, see the proposals, vote on proposals. And it's going to be really intuitive, actually. When you look at it, you're going to be like, okay, it's just like voting in any election. I have this many votes. I get to vote on these things and submit my vote, right? Or I want to propose that we all do this, right? And I think we'll see that one of the issues with governance right now is we have very low, participation rate. We have high attrition, where we have a lot of people that own the ERC20 governance token, but not very many people are voting, or not very many people are proposing because they're in it for speculation. I think when we use NFTs, we're going to see the opposite. We're going to see a lot of people participating and a lot of people voting, because that's the whole purpose of the NFT, right? And so you're not going to get people that are, moon boys, right? People that win moon. When are we going to see, 10x?
There's too much friction there for them to bother doing that, isn't there?
Well, there's not. I don't think there's much friction either, because so the interface to get your votes is going to be like Uniswap when you choose to buy a vote, and when you use the platform, there's no mention of your votes at all. It just gets deposited in your wallet. So even if you're not interested in the votes, you're still going to have a balance of votes. And then when you click on the voting or the DAO section of our website, the interface itself is going to be really simple, like a few buttons: make a proposal, vote on this proposal, and see how many votes I have. So there won't be that much friction in that regards. I think actually there'll be less friction than trying to get into a DAO like Compound or Uniswap, for example. Uniswap's got almost no friction at all, but it has really a high barrier to entry. Like, I wanted to make a proposal for Uniswap, but unfortunately I don't have the millions of dollars of Uni needed to do that.
Oh, I mean friction is in terms of trying to sell the votes afterwards, if they've bought a load of votes and then they want to sell them again quickly. there's not going to be, it's going to be more difficult to do.
Right. There won't be an order book. It's not going to be, like any other token where you can just market sell and it's gone in a second. It won't be like that. It's going to be like every other NFT. So they'll list it for sale, make a really nice listing on Mintable, put in all their information about it, and then promote it. They have to be a salesman for their content, right? Just like on every other e-commerce platform, you have to go through and promote your item.
And for, we've gone quite deep here. For our listeners who may be questioning why would you need a DAO? What would it be used for?
Well, we wanted to take our project and make it community so we're already community focused in the sense that we're trying to improve the NFT ecosystem. But we wanted to go a step further and allow for our community to interact with kind of the future of our platform. We have this third-party service where you can, leave feedback and say, hey, I want this feature, or this is a bug or whatever. But that doesn't go further enough. We wanted people to be able to have kind of a stake in the platform by having something that they see in their wallet, that they can interact with in their wallet, that they can see when they're browsing other marketplaces. They go, oh, look, here's someone selling votes, and in the Mintable DAO. And so we wanted to get that level of decentralization, but there's really no way to do that without doing a DAO. You can't have a decentralized, community-focused platform if you don't really have any kind of governance. And so the best way to do that is to do a DAO. And since we're an NFT project, we decided that we're going to make this NFT DAO. And I think one of the things, just on this same note of pushing the NFT ecosystem forward, is when we release the DAO, all this is open source. So anyone will be able to say, I like this idea of an NFT DAO, and I'm going to make an NFT DAO as well. And so by next year, we're probably going to see a lot more DAOs that are completely ran by NFTs opposed to ERC20s, because the removal of the speculator and leaving only the governance participation.
That could change the face of various areas of our industry. Some will applaud it and want it in, and I suspect others might shy away from it, who rather enjoy the liquidity of governance tokens in inverted commas. But I guess this is all part of the experimentation as we move forward, and it sounds like a really fascinating solution that should take its place in the ecosystem, and will be adopted kind of in line with the credibility of those communities. It could, in theory, draw a line in the sand, whereby one begins to ask the question, oh, you're using an ERC 720 governance token. That's interesting. When you have this other option out there, are you actually truly community orientated? Anyway, so interesting thought experiment there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a valid point, and we've seen a lot of good feedback so far. When we launched the idea, a lot of people on Reddit were really positive about it. They see it as a good potential, and I think that experimentation is the key here. It's it is an experiment, and we're going to see what happens. People might not care, or people might say, wow, this is really interesting, and maybe we should move the current DAOs that we have away from ERC20 and use NFTs. And think about that for NFTs. What if all the DAOs, like just as an experiment, they all move to an NFT DAO? What would that do for the NFT space itself? Like the increase in exposure and adoption of people interacting with NFTs. I think that'd be really kind of good for our space to have the whole of crypto instead of just 1/4 of crypto. This is the current numbers right now. We have about 1/4 of all crypto Ethereum users use NFTs. So there's still 3/4 that don't.
I normally think about NFTs as a sort of constant, non-fluctuating, static item. And so the idea of having NFTs that have changing values and are constantly moving, it feels like a different way of thinking about them. Have you seen them being used much like this before?
Yeah, we already have that. So there's dynamic NFTs where, async art has it where the artist can change the art itself. And then, of course, we have game items, right? So, when you have an Axie or a CryptoKitty. Well, I don't know if CryptoKitties do this, but I believe Axies do, where you level up your Axie or you get new points and attributes and stuff like that. So there's other game items that kind of take this premise, and so it's not new in that regards, but it is a new spin on, it's not a game item, it's not artwork, it's it's a membership card, right? It's membership to something that gives you a say, and in the governance.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like you've created something that everyone in the NFT space that likes to tinker and explore will naturally gravitate to that you've clearly built so much into this. Everyone's going to try and see what it's about, and that in itself is an extraordinary achievement. We really look forward to digging in and exploring all the different facets of the platform you guys have built.
Thank you. I hope that a lot of people use it, and I hope that our servers can hold hold it all up. I hope our website doesn't crash.
Well, in the auspices of Ethereum, you're in a good space, right? Because if you're a victim of your own success, then you're doing something right.
That's the goal. So we've tried to build it to be as robust as possible. So I'm excited for it. I mean, like I said, we're going to be going at the end of this month. End of November, we'll be going live. The DAO is going to be going live. When we go live, all the features will be going live. We have a lot of other features that we didn't discuss in here that people will just have to kind of read about as we get closer to launch. And I think it is going to make some big waves in the NFT space. And I think it's going to be a really valuable tool and a really valuable marketplace for everyone who sells NFTs and makes NFT art.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on again and telling us about it. And we'll do this again another year from now.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, Zach. We look forward to the launch, and we'll see you there.
We are the non-fungible.